Hi, my name is Morris Milani of Alaska Arms LLC. I'm going to walk you through the steps of properly installing a set of our scope rings on a Ruger rifle. Here's a quick note on safety. First thing you want to do is remove your bolt from your action. There's no reason to have that in there. You're doing a scope install. Second, make sure the firearm's completely unloaded. Next, put your finger up inside that chamber. Eventually, if you work with guns long enough, you're going to find a live round in there you didn't know was there. They're just waiting for a catastrophe to happen. And lastly, always make sure your firearm's pointed in a safe direction. And always treat it like it's loaded. First step we're going to do to install these rings is we're going to remove these top caps. These screws are 640 by 1/4 inch socket head cap screws. Get them in any hardware store. Once again, get the quality screws. Use quality hardware. The rings are all heat treated, so keep up with that. Use a good, well heat treated screw. You'll notice that I put the friction paper on the inside of the rings already, both halves. This needs to be done prior to putting the scope in there, and I've just done it to save a little bit of time. You can do it at any time. Now the next step I want to do is this is the lock screw that sits in the front here, front of the ring, and this locks the cam screw. And so I'm going to make sure that's loose. I'm just going to crack it loose, make sure it's out of the way. Now I need to back this cam screw off about a turn just to make sure it opens wide enough to fit over the dovetail initially. And you'll notice on the bottom of the ring there's this little recoil lug. That's towards the muzzle. That's on the forward part of the ring. So you don't want to try to put it on backwards, it won't fit on there. So we're going to lay the ring on top of the bridge, lay the recoil lug in the little recoil recess, and apply a slight amount of pressure forward. Now we're going to put the lever in the locked position. Now this is the locked position either at the 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock position, and that's based on whatever you're comfortable with. So I like them pointing each other when I put them in the front and rear bridge, so I'm going to put it there. Okay, we're going to run this down until it's snug. Alright, and now this gets torqued to 25 inch-pounds. So we're going to hold that lever and torque it. There we are. Now before we move this, because the lever, when I move the lever, will back the screw out. So now we need to, very simple step, I'm going to snug up the lock screw, the cam screw lock screw, so that sets that cam screw in place. And I give it about 1/4 of a turn, but you're going to notice it's nice and snug. It's not going anywhere. Also, I've got torque specs for that, 30 inch-pounds. So once you finish the install and it's locked, you can do a final torque of that lock screw at 30 inch-pounds. So I'm going to put this in the unlocked position, which is here. And you'll notice it's kind of sticking a little bit. We've got some surfaces that have just met for the first time. And so we just tap it and cycle it a few times, and it's going to do that the first couple of times you work them together. It's just breaking in. It's part of the process. Don't panic. Okay, the second time popped right open. Now this is critical. This is a critical step. If you're going to get these to shoot properly, you must do this. They will repeat every time, and I guarantee it, but you got to do one thing. You'll notice I can slide that back and forth about a 1/16. What you need to do is slide it towards the muzzle, because that is the direction your scope will move, and it wants to shift on the action. Once you put it there, and now we can put this in the locked position, that assures that ring will return to 0 every single time. These are the steps necessary to install a ring. And I also want to point out, on these bolt actions, the higher ring is in the back. In this case, it's a number 4 in the front and a number 5 in the back. There are some handguns where the taller ring is in the front. Some rifles take rings the same height. Look at what you have. Make sure you're not going to damage your scope or bend the tube or distort the tube because you have them in the wrong location. Always verify that. Okay, this just moved things along a little bit here. I repeated the same steps for the rear bridge that I used to install the front base. So, same thing. You want to push the base forward. When you lock it for the final time, lock the cam lock screw, make sure that's good and snug, and then torque it. And I've established my eye relief for the scope. I've used the optic leveling kit from Wheeler. Saves a lot of time, saves a lot of questions with the customer. They look down through the tube. They always want something a little different, so that'll save you some time. Now, I've installed the front ring. I haven't torqued it yet, but I've set it up there, the top cap. And I'm going to, as I install the rear top cap, I'm going to point something out. As you install these top caps, there's a gap between the top cap and the lower part of the ring, the lower half of the ring there. And it should make it even on both sides. There's no reason to have it cockeyed. It just, especially if you're doing it for a customer, if you're doing it for yourself, you want it to look nice. There's no reason it doesn't look good. So just take an extra minute or two, and it doesn't take long. Just as you're tightening it down, if you're aware of it, you can usually nail it down pretty close. Now these get torqued to 20 inch-pounds, so I've installed both top caps, and now we need to torque all 8 of these screws. And when you torque a screw, you want to have a torque pattern where you're jumping across. You never torque the screw directly next to it, because you'll get uneven torque. So you want it to go down nice and evenly. And you'll notice that I haven't torqued any of them yet. I'm still snugging them down a little bit, but I don't want to over tighten them. Okay, I just torqued that one. Now I'm coming to the cross back screw. I'm coming back over here. Whoops. And this is the Fat Max wrench set to 20 inch-pounds. If you don't have a Fat Max, you can still do it just fine. Just pull them down good snug with the wrench. Pay attention to what you're doing. You may want to add some Loctite. It's your call if you want to add a little Loctite on your rings or not. I don't always. I don't really feel I need it, but I can keep a pretty close eye on them, and a lot of people can't. So, okay. Okay, now we're completely, we've got the install done. I'm going to set this cap back on there before I lose it or have any damaged threads or anything to deal with. Now, simple as to get the scope to repeat every time. The scope's now off. Okay, put the scope back on. Push the scope towards the muzzle. Rotate the levers in the locked position. You'll notice that this is locked in the 3 o'clock position and this is locked in the 9 o'clock position. That's the way I like my scope ring set up. If you want, you can put them back. You can put them anywhere you want. But either the 3 or the 9 o'clock positions, they're locked. Which you choose, that's your decision. We guarantee that these will repeat every single time you remove them and put them back on the gun. The best way to test it, put your scope on, sit at the bench and shoot a group. The next group, take the scope off between each shot. It should absolutely give you the same results. If it doesn't, I'll send you your money back. I guarantee them for life. If you break them, anything fails, I don't care if a truck ran over it, whatever happened, the only thing you don't have to buy is another set of rings. Send me what you got left if you can. Tell me the story. I'll take care of you. I appreciate your business.